Hello, my people. You're very much welcome. Now, today we're talking about something we Nigerians, both at home and in the diaspora, have asked ourselves time and again. Why are we so interested in the American presidential elections in our country with it concern us? Well, it turns out that there's actually plenty that concerns us. And in this video, I'll break down how the results of the US election can affect not only Nigeria, but also Africa and even the world at large. By the end, you will see why it's not just their business, it's also our business here in Nigeria. Let me start with the economic angle. The United States has the world's largest economy, and whenever they make changes, it affects all of us. When a new president comes in and starts making decisions, there's no way that it won't shake things up. With regards foreign aid and investment, for instance, every year US sends millions of dollars to different African countries, including Nigeria. That's money for things like healthcare, education, and even some agricultural projects. But this money depends on who is in charge. Some presidents love to invest more in Africa, while others focus on domestic issues, leaving less for us. They just focus on their country. When it comes to trade policies, US trade policies can either make it easier or harder for Nigeria to export goods like oil and minerals. There's a policy in the US that allows us to sell some of our products in America without paying heavy tariffs. But all it takes is for one president to just say, we are changing that, and then it could mean a big loss in revenue for Nigeria. Let's talk about the exchange rates and inflation. Now, think about the Naira for a minute. You see, when the US dollar gets stronger, our Naira often suffers for it. This makes imports more expensive. And before you know it, the cost of living in Nigeria starts going up. Any shift in US monetary policy or trade could put pressure on our currency. When it comes to immigration and remittances, we all know someone in the United States. Every one of us knows somebody who is working hard, sending money back home. But the new US president might change immigration policies, which could affect our brothers and sisters over there. If it gets harder for Nigerians to stay and work in the United States, the money they send back home will reduce. And we're talking about billions of dollars that help to sustain families back here in Nigeria. So you see, when Americans vote for a president, it doesn't just stay in America. The ripple effect reaches us here. It reaches into our pockets and even our daily lives here in Nigeria. Next up, let's talk about security. Many people don't realize this, but a new US president can affect the safety of our country and even the continent at large with regards to counterterrorism support. For instance, Nigeria has been battling terrorism for years, even though these days it's not being the news a lot, but there's still Boko Haram in the Northeast, I tell you. And the US has been a partner in our fight, providing Nigeria with intelligence, equipment, and training. But how much support we can get, can change depending on the president. Some might want to help us more, others might focus elsewhere, leaving Nigeria to fend for itself. If we take a look at global alliance and influence, Nigeria has become, or let me say Africa at large, has become a target for big countries looking to expand their influence. China, Russia, you name it, all these countries that have interest in Africa. If a US president decides to either engage more with Africa or pull back, it will affect the balance of power here. This can mean the difference between more stable partnerships or even becoming overly dependent on other world powers. Now, on the issue of human rights, for instance, America often talks about democracy, human rights, governance, all of these kind of issues, especially in countries like Nigeria. Some US administrations have pushed for fair elections, anti-corruption, police reform in our countries. In other African countries, depending on who is president, that pressure can either increase or it can decrease, impacting how the Nigerian government acts both at home and on the international stage. So for those wondering why we pay attention to the US election, it's because the outcome has serious implications for Nigerian security and even for our government's behavior. Now, beyond politics, beyond money, let's be real. America's culture influences us here in Nigeria. From movies to music to social movements, their influence reaches our shores in many ways. American movies, their TV, even social media trend, it shapes a lot of what we see in Nigeria. You will agree with me, they influence our fashion, the way we speak, and even our films. And this cultural reach depends on the freedom and policies around media production in the United States. Then there's also social movements and activism. Movements like, for instance, Black Lives Matters. It didn't just stay, it doesn't just stay in America, it inspires global conversation. It even helped us to fuel something like NSAS back in 2020 in Nigeria. The support this movement gets in the United States sometimes gives us momentum here in Nigeria. And a president's stance on issues like race and policing can either empower or weaken these global voices, even in education and technology. US policies on things like education and tech, it affects us too. Many of our brightest young people want to study, work in America. Policies on student visas, scholarship, and tech exchange programs can either open or close those doors. The better the US Africa relationship, the more opportunities for us here in Nigeria. So, beyond the politics and economy, America's cultural influence plays a big role in our society, shaping how we think, act, and even fight for change. Let me just conclude this by saying that, you can see that the interest that Nigerians have in US election is not just by accident. We actually care because America's actions have real consequences for our lives. From the economy and security to our cultural values, the impact is deep. It is far reaching. So next time someone asks you why should Nigerians care, you know exactly why. The United States election is as much about our world as it is about theirs. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, share, and let me know in the comments, do you think Nigerians are right to be invested in the US election or not? Stay blessed, stay aware, and I'll see you in the next video.